Okay, Kakanottsstookii. Good morning. It is Friday, December 5th, 2014, in the full moon of Kakanottsstookii. That's when the rivers freeze over. And I'm out here at Sspopiikimi to do my weekly phenological survey. It's about 6 or 7 degrees below zero, not too cold. Fully overcast though, with the stratus, kind of wintry stratus gray cloud cover. And it's been relatively warm last few days. We had a really good cold shot end of last week and over the weekend where it was minus 20 and colder. Some days like minus 30. And then as usual, we got our Chinook wave, our warm winds, and blew all the snow around really good, created some drifts and such, and melted some of it, but overall brought us a little bit warmer temperature. It hasn't been above zero at all, but it's getting close. Today, like I said, maybe minus 6, minus 7, which is not too bad for a temperature. Haven't had any new snow since the Chinook, so not gonna really be able to tell a whole lot from prints on the ground today, because they could have been there for 3-4 days, I think, by this point, maybe 2-3 days. But any case, still going to take a walk around the geese. A lot of the flocks of geese were coming up off of the river as I was walking in, so they must, like usual, there's usually a group of geese that spends their nights right out here on the river, where there's always a bit of open water. So I think they're using that same place this year. And there was probably, I would say maybe like 300 geese or so that were coming up as I came in. It's been light outside for maybe an hour and a half, so there could have been earlier groups of geese that took off before I arrived. I'm not sure how many are staying on the river there. Okay, so we'll see what's happening out here today. Some more groups of Sspopiikimi rising off the river. There's a pretty big flock there. Just in the area now where we had the Weasel last week. Over here at this little pump house. It's also the area where we've been seeing that young porcupine. So I'm just gonna look for signs of their presence. What do we see here? That's more like magpie tracks there. Does look like there might be some weasel tracks right in here. There's also definitely some rabbit tracks there. I think these in here might be weasel. Coming around here, looks like there might be some over here. Yeah, not as much sign of the weasel as there was before though. Probably just because we've got a lot more clear patches now of ground, and the snow that is here is fairly hard packed, so it's not taking prints as easily, especially with a animal as lightweight as that weasel. We'll check up here just really quickly, see if there's any sign of the porcupine coming in and out. Looks like there was something going on here where maybe a pheasant was involved. This prints here are big pheasant prints. Yeah, I'm not seeing any signs of the porcupine. Doesn't mean he or she is not here though. Just could be that it's not leaving much of a sign. Something was picking over here, given that there's no prints. My suspicion that this is a bird, maybe a flicker. You can see there's a piece of wood that the porcupine's been working on there. He could just be sleeping in this wood pile and coming out to eat on stuff like this right now. Also, we've seen that porcupine in our past couple of visits seems to prefer, if she can access it, the grass underneath the snow. And so now that we have some clearings and stuff, she should be able to access some of that stuff a little easier. Yeah, I'm hearing a flicker somewhere back in this direction by the coulees. You may or may not recognize this draw. This draw with all the choke cherry trees going up here. That's where the coyote trails were leading the other week, and I'm betting that they have their den right in that wooded draw, where it's nice and concealed. But at some point, I think maybe after the next really good snow, I'll go over there. Oh, there we have a bird coming down. Oh, it's a magpie. Magpie. Up on this shelf here, right in this area, is the area that I call the coyote playground, where I come across, you know, bones and chewed up plastic bottles and stuff like that, where the coyotes have been playing with things. Not seeing the young porcupine out here today, but yeah, definitely there's a flicker out here somewhere. I was hoping that he'd do his call for the camera, but he's being shy. Yeah, so I'm out here surveying the owlwood, always looking for the return of the Kakanottsstookii, the great horned owls. And guess what? Today there's a reward up this way. I don't know if there's a couple here, but there's at least the one. It's a smaller one, so he's probably male. As you can see, it's starting to snow out here. Yay, so there is at least one owl in the owlwood today. About time. I'm going to continue on here and see if I can find a mate. Now, it could always be that this is a descendant of the owls that used to come here. because I'm looking. If he's got a mate here, she shouldn't be too far away, but I'm not seeing her. Typically, an established owl couple this time of year will already be positioned, roosting in the area where they're planning to nest. So if we don't see a mate show up here, like he should already be with his mate. And there's a possibility that I'm just missing her, but I've got a pretty good eye for the Kakanottsstookii. So there is a possibility, like I said, that this is a bachelor owl, and maybe he'll attract a mate. Maybe he'll sing her some charming songs and attract her. Yeah, he's just keeping a good eye on me. Kakanottsstookii are really a top predator. They're pretty much the strongest bird out here. Even the eagles can't stand up to them. A great horned owl will happily steal the nest of an eagle, and it's one of the only birds that can, I think it is maybe the only bird that can take out a porcupine. And it'll eat some fairly big animals. That go from, mostly they're eating rodents and stuff, but it is possible for them to eat, like mammals the size of porcupines. So it's a dangerous bird. There are some Sspopiikimi, black cap chickadees hanging around here, checking me out. I've probably said it before, but I find these birds to be the most curious of the forest. If I'm out here, if I'm entering the chickadee territory, they're often the very first to come check me out, and they act like they're looking for food on the bushes and the trees, and they might be doing two things at once, but they're definitely here to check me out. There's a famous BlackFoot story about the chickadees that they play a game where they throw their eyes out to a distant branch, and they say Sspopiikimi, and they throw their eyes out there, and then they say Sspopiikimi, and the eyes come back into their head. And he's kind of like the old man trickster character. The BlackFoot stories wants to play this game, and like often happens when he wants to get involved with the non-human games, the animals are telling him, this is not for you. It's not a good idea for you to play the game. It's dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. You don't know how to play it. Don't have control. And but he begs and begs and begs, and finally they say, all right, and they tell him how to play the game, what to say and all of that, and they tell him you can only do it 4 times. Any more than that, and it's dangerous. And so of course Sspopiikimi, he tries it, he has so much fun with it, he does it again, and he's just totally enjoying being able to throw his eyes like that. Before you know it, he's thrown his eyes a 5th time, and then when he says Sspopiikimi, they don't come back. So he's wandering around with no eyeballs. He can't find his eyes. And after days of kind of crawling around, searching around with his hands for these eyeballs, Coyote approaches him to ask what's going on. And hey. Hey there, pup. So then, hey there, pup. Hello. What's that?
What are you?
Just filming nature and stuff, telling stories. Yeah, I just ran into a fella out here. I've seen him out here before, but he's telling me he's out here pretty much every day. It's maybe one day a week that he won't walk out here. So, and he was commenting that he'd seen far fewer animals the last couple of years out here, and even far fewer naturalists that he was running into. So he was kind of talking about how it's too bad, you know, he doesn't see very many porcupines or raccoons or even deer, and coyotes not seeing as many as he used to see, and ducks on the pond, that kind of thing. And I agree with him. I think since the last couple of years, since the city built the sewage pipe coming down on Bridge Drive, it did have a really big impact on the wildlife out here. And I don't know why, I mean, but I guess, like, you know, disruption, things change. Animals don't like change. Anyway, going back to the end of that Sspopiikimi story. So yeah, a coyote had come, found Sspopiikimi crawling around, and asked him what's going on, you know, what's wrong. And coyote just basically grabbed onto him and wrestled him down and took his eyes. And so this is how Sspopiikimi ends up having blue eyes instead of brown. So now just out here at the river, and I can see in the far distance, it's not really going to come out good on camera, I don't think, but there are a couple of golden-eyed ducks out there. There they are. I think they were probably back in these channels, which is where they like to fish, except the guy with this dog came through, and then now I'm here. So I think they're just kind of waiting for this area to clear out of any looky-loos, and then we'll see them come back this way, or we might not see them, but that's what they're gonna do. I think they come back to these channels and proceed with their fishing. Just checking out the South Pond Spring, and do still have the Mallards here. Kakanottsstookii, their name in BlackFoot, talking about the color of their legs. No sign of the one kingfisher who was here maybe a month ago. I suspect he decided to actually migrate, or he's gone to a different spot on the river, because I think it's been a few visits here now that haven't come across him. I see 5 golden eyes out here on the river. Actually, taking a closer look here, it's only 2 golden eyes and 3 mergansers. BlackFoot are called meat. Looks like we got 1 male, 2 females, and the females rusty iron colored head is what gives them their BlackFoot name. The iron duck. Meat. They can take much bigger fish than the goldeneye. I've seen them swallow pike that are good part their size. Swallow them whole. One of the activities that you can undertake to learn a little something out here in winter is to do a close examination of bird nests. Now when the trees and the bushes and stuff lose their leaves at the beginning of winter, it reveals a lot of bird nests that you might not have known about during the summer. It reveals their hidden locations. And most of these little passerine birds, the little perching birds, do not use their nest 2 years in a row. There's some that do, and you gotta kind of know which ones do and which ones don't. For instance, you wouldn't want to take a magpie nest because magpies are going to reuse their nests. Owls reuse their nests. There's some birds that reuse them, but for the most part, the little birds, except maybe for the swallows and woodpeckers and stuff, the little birds with the nests in the bushes, they don't really reuse their nests. So it's okay to collect them and investigate them. So I've been checking out last couple of weeks as I passed this part. I've been checking out this one nest here, and I've been thinking I'd like to take this nest, and I believe it's either a gray catbird nest, or it's a cedar waxwing nest. Not quite sure. I'm gonna have to compare it to the photos that I have with those birds nesting in them, and but it's either one or the other. And I think I'm gonna take this nest today and do kind of a dissection of it, maybe over the weekend. What you can learn from this, taking it apart, you can do a count of the number of each type of plant that's used, each type of fiber that's used in the nest, and you may find that certain species tend to use almost the exact same count of pieces of, say, a certain grass. Say one of these birds is using brome, leaves of brome grass. It might use, in the species, they might use very close, within 5 or 10 blades, the same number of blades of grass for all of their nests in a particular area. The main thing that I'm interested in is learning the materials themselves, like what is it that each species uses, because that tells me something about the ecological relationship, about what a bird needs, what a particular species needs here, or what attracts them to here, if they have the proper nesting material and that kind of a thing. So I want to know which species are using which plants, that kind of a thing. So I'm going to take down this nest and put it in a bag, and maybe over the weekend kind of dissect it. Alright, so here's the nest out of the tree, and you can see it looks, it's nothing like a robin's nest. Looking at this now, I really suspect this is a waxwing nest, but you can see it's got fiber, or it's got some cotton from the cottonwood trees, and it's got some different kind of grass stems. It looks like it's got some root fibers. Over the weekend I'll take it apart and I'll film it, document it, and start keeping a record, because I would like to. I've never done this kind of a study before, where you really are doing a parts count on a nest, on the nests, and really looking at them closely. You know, I've looked at them here at the pond, in the field, when the birds are nesting, that kind of thing. But I really would like to do a more thorough study out here. So maybe this will be nest number 1 of my more thorough study, and I'll document it, film it, and share that film and that kind of a thing. So, and just do, you know, 1, and then maybe collect another nest and do another, and that kind of thing. Probably take me a few years to get a really good handle on material count and all, but should learn enough this winter even to know just which plants are being used by which species. One thing to note right away is that this nest was in a Saskatoon bush, so that's one relationship right there. Got a hairy woodpecker down here. A little bit of a bigger woodpecker than the downy. Otherwise, same markings and everything. I was just tipped off to him by a birder who was passing by. Lady with a couple of little dogs. Yeah, almost back to the parking lot area, so I don't know how much more I'm gonna see today. See if I can get a good angle on that hairy woodpecker from here. It's a white-tail deer down this way. He had just been, or she had just been laying down when I came along. I don't think that woman who I'd passed even noticed it. I think that deer would have, she was just down here in these willows, and she's just sitting still. I think she was watching me, and when she saw that I had noticed her, then she hopped up. But she would have been fairly easy to just walk past and not notice. If you didn't really have an eye to catch those anomalous shapes, the animal shapes. So, what's changed here today? Not too much. It'll be nice to get some fresh snow again so that I can do some fresh tracking and stuff. I just enjoy coming out here like within 24 hours of a snow so that I can see, you know, all that's moving around out here. there was not really much. I mean, I saw some magpies and such, but they didn't clue me into anything today. No sign of the little porcupine, but I bet she's still there somewhere. No eagles today, but there's not many. Like, all the geese had taken off from the river when I was coming in. So eagles go where the geese go, or the majority of geese and ducks. What else? Not much else that I haven't just mentioned all along the way. So see if we get any, like, we're getting a little bit of snow right now, but this is not gonna give me the kind of conditions that I want. So see if we get a nice snowfall sometime in the next few days. Then I might come back over the weekend. If not, then I'll be here, middle of next week or what have you.